Look, the truth is, a lot of people haven't even ever thought about retirement, but today we're going to change all of that. What's up everyone, David here and welcome back to Free to Be. Now today I want to talk to you guys about retirement and exactly what needs to go into that mindset to plan for retirement or specific goals that you want to achieve by a certain age. Now before I get started, as always, if you are new to my channel, I cover financial literacy here in an effort to track my progress to financial independence, and hopefully by doing that I'm creating valuable content that others can use in their pursuit of financial independence too. So if you are new to the channel or haven't done so already, please take a moment and just click the subscribe button down below. It's a completely free action to take and it really does help support the channel. And if you're not new and joining me again, thank you for coming back. Now, I know that the FIRE movement is huge right now and a lot of people are thinking about financial independence and retiring early, but what does that even mean? Does that mean that you retire within the next 2 years? Do you retire within 5 years? Do you retire by the time you're 30, 40, 50? What does it all mean? And what happens if that is not something that you accomplish? And today we're going to think about it in a completely different way. What if you aren't able to achieve financial independence and retirement at a young age? What should you be thinking about in terms of your money by the time you're 50 years old? And that's what we'll talk about today. We're going to talk about a few financial goals that have to do with your money that you should be thinking about and trying to achieve by the time you are 50 years old. Now, I'm sure for a lot of you watching, 50 years old seems like a lifetime away, and you're probably thinking, hey, why should I be thinking that far in advance? Like, I still have years and years to get there. There's so much that could happen between now and then. Why should I be thinking about it? And my answer to that is quite simply, if you do not plan, you will reach that age without a plan and it will catch you off guard. And I can tell you from my personal experience, it feels like it was just yesterday that I was coming out of the DMV with my brand new driver's license at a ripe age of 16. And fast forward 20 years later and I am now closer to the age of 50 than I am to the age of 16. So again, trust me when I tell you, it goes by like this. And it's really important that we set these goals as far in advance as possible, because by planning them out, it gives you a better shot at actually achieving those goals, as opposed to letting it just creep up on you and have to be something that you have to address within the next 6 to 12 months. All right, so like I said in the beginning of this video, in an ideal world, we'd all achieve financial independence and be able to retire super early. But the whole aim of this channel is to track that progress and let you guys know that while I do strive to achieve financial independence, a lot of what I'm doing here and a lot of the topics that I cover will also help you achieve retirement at a reasonable age, whether it's a young age or not. These ideas and these habits will help you achieve financial success. Now, the timing of that really does depend on a lot of different factors. Some are unique to you, and I can't really speak to that. You know, some of them might even be out of your control. Think of what's going on with the pandemic. But the goal here is to put these habits in place, put these good practices in place to get you to that final goal, to be able to be retired, not have to worry about money as much as you might do right now, working full time, you know, carrying the cost of your family, your mortgage, and all of that. By having these things in place and by putting these habits in place, you'll eventually be able to get yourself to a place where you're comfortable financially, whether that's 35, 45, 50, beyond. So when you sit down and you contemplate retirement, whatever the age may be for you, you should also definitely benchmark certain points of your life. For me, I think having that marker of 50 years old is a good one because it's not that far away. It's only 15 years out for me. In 15 years, I'm going to be 50 years old. That sounds really crazy saying it, but that's the truth. In 15 years time, I'm going to be 50 years old. What are my savings goals by 50? What are my money goals by 50? And you need to plan early and you have to be willing to adapt that plan as needed. If I end up having 3 kids over the next 5 years, I'm going to have to shift my goals. My odds of becoming financially independent at a younger and younger age kind of go away with that. So you really have to start thinking about the long-term goals and be willing to adapt them as needed. Now, the most important thing you want to do when you're starting to think about retirement is set a number for yourself. What is your retirement number? What is the number that you need to have to be able to walk away from a full-time career? And in a lot of other videos, they call this the FIRE number. And basically all that this is figuring out what your annual expenses are and then multiplying that out by 25 years. And that is your retirement number. That is the number you will need to have a comfortable retirement. Now, you can't adjust your lifestyle once you retire. Like if you weren't buying sports cars before and now you have $2 million in cash saved up for retirement, the first thing you do can't be going and buying a $250,000 Ferrari. That doesn't work. You'll run through that money really quickly. You have to sustain the same lifestyle you had pre-retirement, post-retirement. So again, I think the most important thing you can do is figure out that number and figure out that number early. And that's, again, a living number. That's something that you'll have to change as expenses change. If you end up buying a house, you have to change the number. The number should be shifting and will be shifting throughout your pursuit of retirement, but you got to try to keep it as steady as possible or decrease it if you can, just so you're not really chasing too much of a moving target. And with that comes the idea that you should be working towards shrinking your overhead as you approach retirement. Big things, mortgages, car payments, student loan payments, any cost that really does add a lot to your monthly expense and your annual expense should try to be cut out before you retire. Try to focus on paying down those loans and paying them off. Any kind of high interest debt, your mortgage, car payments if they're too high. Try to get rid of all of that before you call it quits and walk away from a career and go into retirement. Because again, the lower your overhead is, the better off you'll be. If you're able to get your expenses down from $80,000 a year to $50,000 a year, but you had planned on your retirement number based on that $80,000 number, you're gonna be much more comfortable and be able to face any kind of weird obstacles that might come along in retirement in that scenario. Now, once you have all that figured out, the next thing you're gonna wanna work towards by the time you reach the age of like 50 or so is to have as great of a credit score as possible. Now, this is really important because when you reach retirement age and you are done, if an expense comes up that you don't want to pay for with your savings, with your retirement fund, you're going to have to be able to leverage credit. And in order to do that effectively, you're going to want to make sure you can secure a loan with a very low interest rate. And to do that, you're going to need to have excellent credit. So if your credit isn't where it needs to be, if you've been trying to work on it, really focus on it over the next 15, 20 years till you get to the age of 50 to make sure that it is as excellent as can be. Make sure it's in tip-top shape because you might need it. You might need to lean on that credit when you're in retirement. Again, you might need to secure a loan or whatever it may be, and you need good credit in order to do that. So once you do all this, what is the next step in the process? Well, the next step in the process is to start thinking about where you want to retire. Maybe you work in a city or a place where the cost of living is really high. That might not be the best place to retire. You might have made your income there and you might have been able to save there, but it might serve you better to move to a place where the cost of living is much lower in order to make your retirement funds last longer. Now, a lot of people in America end up moving overseas for their retirement. They might go to a country like Belize, or maybe they go to Portugal, or places around the world where it might be a little bit less expensive to live and it just will be a better quality of life. Maybe the weather's better, maybe they have access to beaches and oceans, and just start thinking about where you would want to be. Where would your happy be if you could move anywhere in the world and money wasn't really an issue outside of, obviously, you don't want to move to like Tokyo where it's way more expensive. Where would you want to go? Where do you want to retire? Where can your money work for you, for as long as possible? And finally, the last thing you want to consider when you're thinking about retiring is how you're going to pay for, unexpected costs. Whether that's paying for like a wedding of a child that might catch you off guard, if something goes wrong and you need to buy a brand new car, if something happens with your house and you need to pay for repairs, God forbid something happens with your health and you need to cover those costs. You have to kind of plan for the unexpected. And that's weird to say, but you almost need to have like a small little buffer or a secondary fund to absorb those costs. Or maybe you're thinking, hey, if I keep my property and buy a retirement home and move there, maybe I can rent out the old property, or maybe I keep that and then I sell it if I need to. But just think of ways that you're going to be able to fund those unexpected costs that could end up really taking a big chunk out of your primary retirement fund. You're gonna have to cross those bridges when you get there, so it's always better to think about them in advance. All right, guys, well, that's all I had for this video. Let me know what you guys think about retirement and your strategies for planning for it long-term in the comments down below. If you guys think that, you would do something differently, feel free to let me know that down below as well. If you are new to the channel or haven't done so already, please take a moment and just click the subscribe button. Again, it really does mean a lot to my channel and it really does help support it. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.